The digitisation of memory. How far is too far, and are selfies ever appropriate at Holocaust memorials? By Monique Kingsley. Although not a new phenomenon, tourism studies have revealed a link between the expansion of television and film production in the 20th century to increasing public fascination with sites associated with death, known as dark tourism. This is apparent through the Hollywood-produced image of the Holocaust in popular World War II films such as the 1993 Steven Spielberg film Schindler's List. Despite this mass-marketed perception, these diverse materials, alongside museums and textbooks, have consistently complied with a pre-existing sanctioned and formal narrative that ensures the appropriate communication of such dark sites associated with the Holocaust. Due to the sensitive nature of such sites, as well as the increased ease of freeing information and knowledge, it is widely realised that places associated with violent death must continue to be interpreted sensitively in order to ensure that visitors pay appropriate respect, while also ensuring that the events that occurred and those who perpetuated them are not unduly glorified. However, the influx of social media has largely altered this highly curated process of memory production in how the Holocaust is represented and consumed by international viewers. Furthermore, as Lennon argues, this need to document through a photographic lens has limited these dark heritage sites' ability to shock or concern, and as such has made these horrific atrocities appear almost common. Thereby, this paper intends to analyse whether this rise in social media at dark tourism sites enriches our understanding or instead promotes a sense of emotional indifference at sites associated with the Holocaust. Following the site's launch in 2010, Instagram have amassed over 2 billion active users across the world, with over 1.9 billion engaging with the site daily. As an image-centered platform, the site allows users to edit and alter the narrative of photographs with a selection of tools before sharing them with Instagram users. Consequently, since the rise of social media, these platforms have largely altered how the memory of the Holocaust is represented and consumed by international audiences. Previous literature has focused on numerous ethical questions regarding how the Holocaust should be discussed and by who. However, little exploration has been done into how social media act as platforms for open debates and discussion. Besides the uploading of images selected by account holders, Instagram also provides its audiences with the opportunity to include captions, hashtags, and even set a geolocation to widen their post visibility with international audiences. By including hashtags and geolocations, users can place their images with other users' posts on the same content and in the same location. As a result, it is possible to recognise which hashtags referencing the Holocaust is most used and easy to locate posts regarding the Holocaust all on one page. As of April 2022, the most common hashtag was hashtag Holocaust, with 873,000 posts, shortly followed by hashtag Auschwitz with 517,000 posts, the highest number of posts associated with a Nazi concentration camp, and thereby reinforcing the narrative of Auschwitz-Birkenau as the most well-known camp and synonymous with the Holocaust. In contrast, hashtag Buchenwald only has 30,000 posts, and hashtag Dachau with 203,000 posts, demonstrating its lesser-known status. The inclusion of captions alongside provides these images with context and can help clarify the reasoning behind the posting of such an image. It is with the inclusion of such extras that one is able to determine the overall message such Instagram posts are intending to put across, and whether they enhance our understanding or further desensitizes us to horrors of the 20th century. In order to demonstrate how social media has the potential to further Holocaust awareness, especially amongst younger audiences, this paper will be primarily using two sites associated with the Holocaust and how audiences engage with the sites through Instagram. The Auschwitz-Birkenau Museum Memorial was officially established as a state museum on the 14th of June 1947. As one of the largest and deadliest concentration camps from during the reign of the Third Reich, as well as being the most preserved site, Auschwitz-Birkenau is universally acknowledged as a symbol of the Holocaust, and the museum is one of the most visited sites by receiving over 1 million visitors annually from across the world. Contrastingly, the Ghetto Hero Square Empty Chairs Memorial in Krakow, Poland, is not a museum, but rather an example of a counter-monument erected in 2005. This living monument consists of 70 large empty chairs made up of bronze as a representation of the 70,000 Jews deported from Krakow ghetto to the nearby Auschwitz and Plaszow concentration camps. Despite these two significant sites being situated within an hour of one another, and thereby easily accessible to visitors with this specific interest. These sites are to be analysed due to the differing levels of pre-existing interpretation from official sources, and how this may impact the manner in which visitors engage with these memorials. In addition to these two sites, this paper will draw upon previous projects that highlight the positives and limitations of image sharing regarding Holocaust-related locations, such as the controversial Holocaust project by Shahak Shapira and the father and daughter project Eva's Story on Instagram. By analysing two different sites in terms of structure and interpretation, this paper will be able to determine how this impacts visitors' interpretation and understanding of the Holocaust as depicted through visitor Instagram posts. As briefly touched upon, Auschwitz-Birkenau and Ghetto Square Krakow, although Holocaust-related, are both different in the site's interpretation. Auschwitz is universally viewed as synonymous with the Holocaust and represents a preserved location of genocide. In a location on the outskirts, many visitors are already prepared on what to expect and what occurred at this site. In comparison, although acts of murder and torture are known to occur at the Krakow ghetto, where the square now stands, it is less synonymous with the Holocaust and easy for visitors to stumble upon without any knowledge of what the memorial symbolises. Like the Berlin Holocaust Memorial, the artist Lewicki Latak, behind the Empty Chairs Memorial, enforces a counter-monument movement which refuses to present a monumental form. In artistic terms, counter-monuments tend to apply contrasting design techniques by using dark instead of light tones and presenting a more dispersed and fragmented presence as opposed to one imposing structure. In this context, the Berlin Memorial consists of 2,711 concrete slabs to represent the 6 million Jews murdered by the Nazis, covering over 19,000 square metres, which fits into the categories of a counter-monument. Counter-monuments are like the Empty Chairs Memorial, raises questions and engages visitors instead of imposing a feeling of sobriety and respect normally associated with monuments. Upon completion, visitors who stumbled upon the memorial did not recognise the chairs as a monument due to its artistic indifference, and despite the oversized nature of the chairs, the monument still invites interaction with visitors who are unaware of the content's dark origins. Thereby, compared to Ghetto Square, even though both are sites of a sensitive nature, the behaviour at Auschwitz can attract more horrified responses to selfies and is more easily criticised due to it being known as a site of mass death, whereas sites like the Ghetto Empty Chairs Memorial can be described as a less sacred ground to Auschwitz. In reference to the media presence surrounding visitor documentation of their visit to Holocaust-related sites, there is a growing worry that such outlets allow acts of transgression and insensitivity. From research conducted on the most prevalent Holocaust hashtags on Instagram, there appears to be two types of images posted. The first consists of photographs that document the memorial or museum by highlighting certain artefacts such as the infamous train tracks at Birkenau or the gates at Auschwitz I. These photographs may also include materials that represent the passage of time, for example, Auschwitz's collection of victims' possessions and hair. In general, content following this tends to serve a dual purpose as both a testimonial to the victims and as an educational tool to raise awareness. The second category of images can be easily categorised as a collection of selfies. The main elements of these images consist of staged pensive portraits, smiling people, or highlighting a person's face or clothing whilst using the memorial site as a backdrop. As Saluska states in their article Selfies at Auschwitz, these are images of people marking their presence as if the surrounding was irrelevant. It is this second category of photo content that this paper predominantly considers due to its message of emotional difference, and by considering images taken at Auschwitz-Birkenau and the Empty Chairs Memorial in Krakow. Image 1 depicts a man standing within the train tracks leading to Auschwitz III, with his arms above his head and an apparent joyful pose. The image upon face value does not appear to conduct the sanctioned narrative of silence and respect of Holocaust sites, which is furthered through the translated caption. How beautifully the poet Kahit Sarifoglu said, "When the sound of teaspoons mingling with each other at breakfast, this is the sound of happiness. And if your mother is sitting across from you, the place you are sitting is exactly heaven." At first, it could be assumed that this caption places respect on the remembrance of a poet who is intimately connected to the Holocaust due to the positive tone of the quote. However, upon further research, the poet is in fact of Turkish descent with no ties to the Holocaust, and thereby the words happiness and haven connotate positive emotions that do not fit the emotions expected for such a location. Thereby, it can be argued that this image provides no respectful context to the horrors of the site within his background. In this example, the apparent thought-out photographic pose and caption suggest a deliberate ignorance to the dark site's significance and thereby possibly trivialises the narrative of the Holocaust. Images 2, 3 and the collection of images under 4 all depict more stereotypical selfie poses by engaging with its lens and the future audience behind it. Image 2 depicts a man pulling a supposed duck pout whilst blurring out the background to enhance audience's focus to him. These images thereby further demonstrate this category of selfies as visitors who ignore the site's significance by using it solely as a photographic background. Image 3, the subject is holding up her middle finger at the lens, a universal sign of disrespect. Originating from ancient times as a symbol of sexual intercourse, and now as an expression of insult or belittlement towards whoever it is aimed at, the physical action is the oldest of insulting gestures known. With no caption besides best photo to contextualise the reasoning behind this pose, it can only be assumed, and with insulting gestures such as this one, it is apparent that no respect or acknowledgement of the site was shown in image 3. Most shockingly, the collection of images categorised as image 4 includes a multitude of locations at Auschwitz-Birkenau, with the lens focusing on the account holder rather than the surroundings. This collection portrays the subject as fully immersed in her surroundings in ignorance, almost as if the surroundings held as much significance of an abandoned warehouse. In comparison, images with no context taken at the ghetto square does not instill as strong a reaction upon sight as the Auschwitz selfies do. Images 5 and 6 both depict visitors fully engaging with the site by climbing onto the chairs for photo opportunities. As images of opportunistic photo backgrounds, both images are purposefully staged in a positive light and edited to focus on the subjects, with a secondary complementary focus on the backdrop. Through the use of hashtags, images 6 suggests the account's primary purpose is to document her travels, as apparent from hashtag travel blogger and hashtag travel photography. However, in accordance with the memorial's creators, any interaction with the monument is a sign of remembrance, and thereby it is not as visually horrifying as those taken at Auschwitz. It is also worthy to note that this issue of appropriate behaviour at memorials transpires beyond members of the academic sphere. Public outcry at visitor behaviour, especially in regard to photographs, has become more visible online the past decade. In early 2017, Jewish-German writer Shahak Shapira responded to the growing number of selfies taken at the Berlin Holocaust Memorial. The project, titled YOLOcaust, combines Holocaust with the term YOLO, an abbreviation of the phrase "you only live once," commonly associated with the younger generation. As part of this project, Shapira collated 12 selfies taken at the memorial that were available through public accounts on Instagram, removes the memorial backgrounds and instead replaces them with photographic scenes taken from concentration camps, as seen in images 7 and 8. Amongst images 7 and 8, other selfies taken included visitors performing acrobatic moves and juggling. Collated together on a website, the account holders of the original images, who wanted them removed, were required to email Shapira asking to be undouched, another young generation slang word for an obnoxious or offensive person. Prior to taking down the website, statistics demonstrated a widespread interest in the display of inappropriate behaviour at memorials, with over 2.5 million visitors to the website. During its period online, Shapira received support from recognisable Holocaust centres, such as the Yad Vashem Holocaust Remembrance Centre in Jerusalem. Despite the overwhelming support given to Shapira, this project also raised questions on the architect's or artist's believed purpose for the memorial upon creation. Upon face value, these images appear to prioritise the self over the importance of the photograph's location and the context behind this location. However, despite certain disagreements between selfie takers and their Instagram viewers on the serious nature of such places, certain elements within their caption and hashtags provides context and depicts a differing interpretation that hints at a more testimonial message and motivation behind its creation. As depicted in images 9 to 11, the associated captions and hashtags can alter the original impression from viewing these posts. On the surface, these images follow the pattern of focusing on the person as the main subject, rather than its surroundings. However, arguably these images do not blur out their background and edit the images enough to allow for the surrounding backgrounds to be fully contextualised and understood through the use of respectful and educational captions. There are still artistic edits done to each of these photos, especially the monochromatic colours used in image 11, with the only colour highlighted is the subject's red hair. Alongside the caption, image 10 also visually references the sanctioned movie narrative Schindler's List, based on the true heroic actions of factory employer Oskar Schindler, demonstrating the subject's acknowledgement of the site's significance. Unlike the other images in this category, image 11 focuses on her experience and emotions when visiting the site, rather than educating the audience on the site's context. Although some may argue that this detracts from the significance by focusing on her experience, this caption facilitates a space for discussion and remembrance between Instagram users and provides a way for young people to engage with this new narrative. As previously acknowledged, museums act as intermediaries of historical knowledge and thereby contribute to this formation of an officially sanctioned narrative. However, with the declining amount of Holocaust survivors and the rise of a younger, more technological, fluent generation, Holocaust institutions are compelled to acquire new methods to connect the past with the present. It is with this acknowledgement that an argument in favour of Instagram and its ability to further spread awareness can be fully appreciated. As Corinne and Potter highlights, the growing number of social media platforms have become so embedded in the daily lives of the younger generation that such platforms may ultimately play a significant role in the preservation of Holocaust memory. Among these institutions, museums like the Auschwitz-Birkenau Memorial Museum have become leading advocates for the adoption of digital technologies for educational purposes. As account holders across social media platforms, the museum essentially gave a green light for visitors to express themselves visually while still actively monitoring images with related hashtags and geolocations. Acceptance is further employed through the museum's reposting of images taken by visitors that reveal a new way of looking at the camp, as can be seen in image 14. Upon analysis of the content depicted in images 12 to 15, the museum uploads images from their collection and provides related context within the caption. These posts have a specific focus on the people imprisoned at the camp through their actions and their fate. These posts emphasise an educational tone through its links to Holocaust-related articles, news, and further information regarding the memorial. Hashtags are also employed by the museum to help further its visibility across the platform, reinforcing their acceptance of other media profiles doing so. When asking for Instagram verification to further the museum's aim of a sanctioned narrative, the museum claimed that images can be a very powerful tool of remembering history. As part of the museum's social media mission, their Instagram page intends to provide social media with emotional, respectful, informative and curated content. Alongside educating the younger generation to be responsible in the contemporary world, especially through social media, as can be seen in these images. The museum rightly recognises the technological influency of the younger generations and instead deliberately uses the same social platforms in order to reach this specific audience. The Eva Stories Instagram account is also a positive yet controversial method of raising awareness. The account aims to engage younger audiences by asking what if a person had a smartphone and social media during the Holocaust. As a virtual diary of 70 photos and videos, the story is based upon real-life Hungarian Jew, 13-year-old Eva Heyman, who documented the last few months of her life in a personal diary. Although criticised for cheapening the experiences of Holocaust victims, this interpretation has been praised for making the Holocaust narrative more relatable to younger generations and engages otherwise disinterested or uninformed youths. As Eva's actress Maya Kochavi stating, "There's a lot that young kids will really feel and relate to, and hopefully this continues as her journey becomes more difficult." With 1.1 million followers compared to Auschwitz's 141,000, it can be argued that Eva's stories reaches a much larger and broader audience to Auschwitz's sanctioned narrative. That is neither to say that one site is better than another at furthering Holocaust awareness, as a success in raising awareness cannot be measured through post likes or follows. Both these sites are used differing forms of content that may appear more accessible to different audiences and in this sense should not be discouraged. Thereby, in this sense, current audiences engaging with these posts on Instagram recognise the importance of remembrance and find that this method of doing so allows for further understanding from a modern and personal perspective. As demonstrated from the selection of images discussed from Instagram, there is no specific group of people that engage with these types of behaviour. Instead, the majority of accounts appear to be European, with a select few from the Americas and Asia. However, and most surprisingly, some of the more shocking images examined in this paper originated from accounts held by Polish citizens, and thereby contradicts the perception that nations more closely impacted by the Holocaust depict a more serious and sombre behaviour at places of Nazi terror. Furthermore, those depicted in the discussed images do not enter a specific age barrier or gender, diminishing any views that this behaviour is limited to the younger generations. Despite this, it is worth remembering that only a small number of images have been examined in this paper. They may have been taken due to their recent posting on Instagram, but they cannot be assumed representative of whole nations' behaviours. Furthermore, although there is a large following of literature on this specific subject, the topic of visitors and photographs at Holocaust memorials continues to be an area of debate. As demonstrated, there are clear examples of disrespect in the above images. However, it is worth noting that not all selfies taken at Holocaust memorials originate from reasons of vanity, narcissism, or disrespect, and that many, especially photos posted by the Auschwitz-Birkenau Memorial and Museum, actually aid the need to continue spreading Holocaust awareness. Therefore, through analysis of these various images, it is clear that social media has the potential to enrich our understanding of the Holocaust events and both the victims' and survivors' experiences, as well as opening up discussions based on our own and other visitor experiences to dark tourism sites associated with the Holocaust.